Hi, Anthony and James. Thank you for joining us for this Speciality Food Talk series. Thank you for joining me on this discussion about championing local food and drink. I know this is a big passion for both of you, so let's discuss the opportunities and benefits that local credentials bring. So if you could both just start off by introducing yourself and your experience in the food industry, that would be great.
Okay, I'm a fifth generation farmer from Bedfordshire, and I started Big Barn 20 years ago to try and encourage direct trade between consumers and producers. So I set up a local food map where you can click on the icons on the map and you can see what they do. And we now get about 5,000 visitors a day, and we have about 9,000 different local producers on our map. And we share our map with about 90 other websites. And if you see a red icon on the map, it means you can click and buy direct from that producer. So what we're trying to do is get more and more websites to have our map and more people on it, and encourage more and more trade. And then in some ways help some of the producers on the map team up to offer a complete shopping basket. So it's growing and it's getting bigger and bigger. And we've become a community interest company to send a clear statement to everyone that let's all get together and change the food industry. Is that okay?
Brilliant, great stuff. How about you, James?
So my love of English food and drink started working with Young's Brewery up in Wandsworth, and that's the brief I had there was all about engaging a modern day drinker. And I think it was working with those guys I really started to actually become interested in working with English food and drink brands, to the journey which took me to today, where I'm director of an English estate called Squaries, which is on the North Downs in between Sevenoaks and Westerham. It's about 2,500 acres in size. And I'm working with them to grow their brand portfolio in food and drink to future-proof their business. So within that, we have a wine brand, we have a farm shop and cafe, and separately, we have a restaurant.
Brilliant. And so in this series, we're discussing sustainability, and we want to highlight the importance of sourcing locally. So James, how do you go about sourcing locally at Flint and Oak, and what kind of thing are you able to get hold of locally?
So about 80% of our products are sourced within 50 miles of the shop, of the farm shop, Flint and Oak. And I'd say probably about 40 to 50% are less than 25 miles. And that fluctuates according to seasonality. So when we get red fruit season, asparagus, then that will be a lot more hyper-local to us. And how do we find people? Well, it requires a bit of research through the likes of Google and Instagram. And we do a lot of work with Produced in Kent, who bring together a lot of producers from our doorstep. And then we go and meet them, and we just build a relationship over time. It's not something, I don't think it's something that can magically happen within 24 hours. But we have some fantastic relationships where we're working directly with the growers, like Iton Berries in just outside Sevenoaks, High Wheel Dairy, fantastic dairy, producing some cracking cheeses for our counter. And then the Wine Garden of England, who as a group are producing some high-class, still English wines. So it's enabled us to be less reliant on wholesalers and to build our own bespoke supply lines. But the other thing we've done, which connects to the wider estate to Squaries, is that we created our own production kitchen a year ago. And it was accelerated with the onset of COVID, which meant that we could produce our own delicatessen products, also meals for the freezer. So that's something that we want to do more with over the course of the next 12 months.
Interesting, thank you. And Anthony, obviously Big Barn is hugely successful. It's the #1 local food website, encouraging consumers to buy and eat local. What have the positives been of this so far that you've seen?
Well, since COVID, everyone has been using online a lot more. So they found us through searches, and they've been clicking on local producers and buying a lot more online. And we've been helping a lot of these producers gear up to be online through our marketplace. And we've also seen a huge growth in Grow Your Own. And one of our initiatives, which we really want to get more of, is called Crop for the Shop, which is where you can look for a carrot flag on any of the icons on the map. And if they've got a carrot flag, you can take what you've grown there, and they'll, if they like it, they'll sell it for you. And it encourages lots of people to grow food. But what we're really keen on is schools growing food as well. So these kids having a veg patch, growing some produce, then teaming up with a local farmer or a local shop and taking their produce there and proudly taking it in and saying, we've grown this, you sell it for us. And it's a great way for things like local pubs and restaurants to also get involved, because those people who come in and bring their produce are going to be very good and loyal customers if they see their produce on the menu. So it's something we want to do a lot more of and team up with a lot more different organizations to make that happen. And we've been trying to pressurize people like Henry Dimbleby with the new food and farming strategy to get a lot more food growing in schools, because what we really need is a more enlightened society where people know what they should be buying and they make better buying choices, and they also know how to cook. And if we've got our children who know about fresh veg and who also know how to cook a bit of it, then that whole next generation could become much better customers and be eating better food and also influencing their parents. And we think that would be really good. It's not only a short-term strategy, but a really good long-term strategy to fix the food industry.
Definitely. And in terms of kind of sourcing local products, what kind of messaging and language and credentials make a product successful when it comes to attracting consumers?
I think it's about telling as much of the story as possible. And what we try and encourage all the producers on Big Barn to do is to make a video about themselves. And a classic is if someone goes up to them in their shop and says, can you tell me about your produce, that they kind of wax lyrical about how brilliant the things that they've produced are and how much fresher and tastier they are, and perhaps even handing over little recipe ideas. So we're in the digital age now where you can very quickly make a video, put it up on YouTube for free, and with Big Barn you just put the YouTube number into your Big Barn admin page and your video's there. And you can change it whenever you want. So it's all about the story, and people love the story, and that's what we want as much as possible.
What are your thoughts, James?
I totally agree.
Great.
I've been I've been telling stories all my life on behalf of brands to grow their business. So for me, there's a hygiene thing about the product. It looks great, it tastes great. But the magic is the story behind it. So I think there needs to be more storytellers in our world to engage people of all ages. I love the initiative about Crop for the Shop. Kids have their veg patch. So I'm desperately trying to do with my 3 boys.
Yeah.
I can peel them off their tablets or their games consoles. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. There's a little video we've got up on Big Barn about the guy from Blue Peter who did a bit of food growing with schools. And he said that it's actually within us that we like growing veg, because we've been doing it for thousands of years. And it's only in the last 50 that we've stopped. And we've kind of totally separated from where our food comes from. And if you get these kids at a young enough age and get their hands dirty, they absolutely love it. And we found with our scheme that we ran in Leicester that we could actually link a lot of tricky academic subjects to the veg patch, because we said to the kids that these carrots. We're going to take to the shop, and the shop's going to have 30% of the retail price. And they went, how much is that? So we said, well, it's a pound, it's 30p in the pound. And they went, oh, that's percentages. Something practical had taught them something quite that they thought was really boring and tricky. So, there's loads of things that can be brought into the veg patch, and why don't we do it? You can kill two birds with one stone.
I like your phrase there, reconnecting people back to the land, and that's something we're trying to do as well.
Yeah,
I think people have just become so disconnected from where their food comes from, that we're trying to bring that to life through the shop, definitely.
Well, and you mentioned your kind of kitchen where you're helping businesses get going, and part of that, I suppose, is people looking through the window and seeing what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're telling their story.
Yeah, that's really important, that they can see as much as they can hear, as much as they can smell. So it's about appealing, it's about engaging all of the senses, and just getting people to stop and think for a minute and to get involved. And it's all about the community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's what COVID's done, isn't it? People have had a bit more time to stop and think.
It's definitely, we've had so many people come to us for the first time during COVID that they had not a negative perception of farm shops, but they had maybe it was a bit expensive, and the food wasn't going to be as good quality as I was getting from my supermarket. And it just really helped people reevaluate what was on offer. So if there is a silver lining to COVID, then that is it for our business.
And James, with this new audience that you have, how do you kind of involve them in your sustainability initiatives and local sourcing initiatives, and how do you get them as fired up about it as you are and the team is?
It for us comes down to the team who are in the shop that are having a conversation with them. That's so important. We have so many people come out because they want to have exactly that. They want to have some human interaction. They want to have a chat. It's not just about a transaction. That's really key. So unfortunately, my wife goes to Aldi every now and again. I have to admit that.
Full disclosure.
And I went with her once, and I was quite amazed at how quickly the food went from our trolley basket to the end of the conveyor belt. It was incredible. It was like the cashier was trying to break a record, and there was very little eye contact, there was very little conversation, there wasn't even a how are you. So that for me is really important, is that there is that human connection. And then we go beyond that with our weekly newsletter that we do, and we try and make sure the content in there is as local as possible. And that goes through our social content, which you can bring to life more through things like Instagram stories. And then tastings, which obviously we can't do at the moment, but they go a long way to helping people understand a bit more about where their foods come from, but also meet the people behind the brand and the product. So all of those things together go a long way to help us communicate that message.
Thank you. And Anthony, lots of producers have been left with surplus stock if they're supplying the hospitality industry, and obviously that's been impacted by COVID. How do you support those producers who are left with surplus stock? Kind of what services do you provide to them? Well,
we try and help them get customers and get out there. And we've been there's been a few people like fish producers who we've had, and game producers who have got a lot in the freezer, and we've helped them gear up with an online shop. And we've done taster videos of having some of their product and doing a taster video, and then putting it up on social networks so that people can find it.
Mm.
But it's it's tricky because all the people who weren't going to restaurants should be buying all that food to cook at home. In a lot of cases, it was a matter of diverting it to these different places. I suppose in the old days, when we used to have lots of markets all over the country, these gluts would be handled by the marketeers having the product and sending it to different places. And it's because of our kind of supply chain that either goes to the supermarket or it goes to big business and catering, that it's all broken down a bit. And
are these suppliers enjoying having a direct link to consumers? I'm guessing it was a big challenge at first, but are they now seeing it as a positive new avenue that they can explore?
I think so, definitely. I was on a government call the other day, and apparently before COVID, government contracts were coming 60% from Europe and 40% from the UK, and now they managed to switch that and do 60% from the UK and 40% from Europe. So it looks like things are happening, and one thing we're working on is dynamic food procurement, where small farmers can put up their produce and government contracts can buy direct from them instead of going through some of these really big industries. And there is a lot of ambition from government to be sourcing a lot more locally. So that's quite exciting. But my family used to grow onions up in Norfolk, and every year we'd get about £100 a tonne for them. And we weren't big enough to get a supermarket contract. And we'd see our onions on the Tesco shelf 3 days later for £800 a tonne, or the equivalent of. And it's really rather depressing for farmers to see that. And didn't matter what we did, we'd never get what we'd consider a fair price. And by selling direct and finding customers and building up your trade, you can get a much better percentage, and that's what we all need to try and make happen.
And James, on the retail side, you've created virtual shelves and a collection service for local food. Has that been a positive addition to the business, and has it allowed you to take on more suppliers?
Yeah, I mean, it helped us navigate our way pretty quickly through COVID. We had to react to that situation in March, and 80% of our business came through that shop. But now it's lower than 20%. What we're finding is that people want to come out, want to get out of their homes, and they want to come into the shop and buy. But I think we're not going to stop it. We're going to keep it, and it will play its part at Christmas. So a very busy few weeks for us, and also other seasonal busy periods. But it will never be, in my book, it will never be a substitute for the service and that interaction that our customers want. And you're right. I mean, it's increased our inventory. So we saw actually a lot more products coming into the shop, into the business, mostly from the same suppliers that we just didn't have the shelf space for before. So it has been a fruitful addition, but it's not going to take over the business. It's going to complement what we do already. And I think that's the secret of our success this year so far. It's been the ability to adapt, so that you have your shop front, you have your online way of purchasing, and you can basically turn your resource to whichever seems to be the way that your consumer wants to engage with you and buy products from you. So that's really helped future-proof our business as we look to what happens next. Yeah,
it's great to know that as soon as shoppers could come back in store, that they did, and so they appreciate that engagement and the connection, and they want to speak with someone who's passionate about local produce rather than just opting for the convenient option of shopping online?
Passion is a good word.
Mm.
I'm a firm believer again that passion drives profit.
Mm.
Some people say, well, it's price. It's not. You need to demonstrate through the products you select, that you curate, that you sell, that the team that you have who are talking about what they're selling, that passion needs to come out, and the consumer will know straight away if you're quite genuine in what you do and whether you believe in what you do. So passion is everything when it comes to the success of food retail business such as ours. Really, really important.
Because I think that that passion gets across to the consumer, and then they talk about it to their friends.
Yeah.
If you've then got that passion going across, and then you've got friends who go, oh yeah, but that farm shop's really expensive. No, actually it isn't, and it's much better. And what you're getting is really good produce that you can then cook and make lovely meals, and then perhaps you don't have to go out so often or buy ready meals, and actually you might even save money.
And the staff that we have in the shop, Anthony, are all customers or children of customers who have become our converts, I guess. And they all speak. The strategy behind it is influence the few to influence the many. So by bringing those evangelists into your business, they then kind of go out and start talking to their separate communities. So yeah, you can't do it alone, can you? You've got to bring really great people with you, and that's how we've grown our business.
Fantastic.
Team of ambassadors.
Yeah.
And how do you both feel, has the demand for local and interest in local grown in recent months? Do you think that's a direct result of COVID, or do you think there are other powers at play that are bringing it to the fore?
I think people are realising that local is the right way. They get a little bit annoyed when they buy something in a farm shop that's perhaps a bit overpriced, and they don't notice the difference. But I think at the end of the day, people realise that with COVID and Brexit and stories about big businesses making huge amounts of money and not paying any tax, that they realise, well, perhaps if I spend my money locally, that money's going back into the local economy. And then with a lack of jobs, perhaps that's going to increase jobs locally. So there's so many positives about local sourcing and local food that people eventually get it. But it does take people like Big Barn and all these farm shops and all these other community groups to kind of keep going on about it and keep telling the story and getting more people to buy in.
We've the big thing I've seen change, the evolution has been the questions people have been asking when they've come into the shop about the origin of the food or the language they're using. So I think we've gone from, is it British, is it English, to, is this from Kent? Or in some cases, is this from a local farm? So that's the sea change I've seen. And I think that's been accelerated by the kind of introduction of more Jamie Olivers over the last couple of years. So we're seeing thousands of Jamies now because of social platforms and influencers being, educating people about food that they never knew before. And as a result, I think people are trusting those people and probably trusting supermarkets less as a result. And they're feeling good about doing it. So that's a change. It's happened really quickly as well. And it's great to see it. And there's this kind of real groundswell.
Yeah,
people are really kind of proud of where they live and where they're buying their food from.
Absolutely.
Great to be part of it.
Now, how do you think independent retailers can make the most of this opportunity that they now have?
By really shouting about what they've got and telling their story, and we'll be happy to help them do that. And We can even send them a video on how to make a video. But people need that because they're really busy as well. A lot of people are kind of realizing that they're doing a bit better, but they're thinking, oh, how long is this going to last? If I employ someone, I might not be able to keep them busy, and it might cost me too much. So people are trying to do too much, and because they're trying to do too much, they don't do anything quite as well as they should. But we can help them do that, and we've come across quite a few farm shops who've said, well, we're doing online now. We're taking orders over the phone, and we're then walking around the shop, filling up a basket, and then we're sending it out. And I said, well, that's not actually online. That's taking payment over the phone, and then putting it in a van and sending it off. I said, why don't you just let us make an online shop for you? So all of that order processing can be done without someone walking around the shop, or without you taking a phone call, without you having to take the payment over the phone. So there are lots of kind of shortcuts out there that we're trying to help them make the best of, and help them tell their story. And please use the technology, because it's there, and it's there to help you improve your business.
I think the first question for me would be, it's all around passion. Do you believe in it, in that change? Because if you don't, it's gonna be probably a big waste of your time and money. So you need to ask yourself that. And then I think it's about finding your point of difference. So it's about looking at who you're competing against in the area, and how you can shine, how you can stand apart from those other people, and find your expertise. And then I would encourage you to kind of reconnect people back to the land, and involve your community in doing that, and do that well, and you'll have a very powerful groundswell of support and ambassadors that will help you grow your business.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. That's a really lovely note to end on. Thank you. So thank you both for getting involved with this. We've shared some really brilliant insight there. So hopefully we will have encouraged some people to support local and champion the local suppliers and community. So thank you both very much.
Yeah, I think it's great. And the great thing about local is that someone who's doing something local in Cambridgeshire is not competing with someone who's doing something local in Bedfordshire. So they can all be doing similar things and all be winning customers locally and making that difference. So yeah, it's about us all kind of sharing knowledge and helping each other.
Great stuff. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.